Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Winning the Division. This is our third episode. Ben Troupe, former NFL tight end, also from the University of Florida, and myself, Ryan Smith. Glad to be here with you after week one of the NFL season, wrapping up tonight. Currently in progress, the San Francisco 49ers and the New York Jets are currently taking battle in the Bay Area. Let's go, Ben, over week one. Let's review and just react to some of the things that happened in week one. We'll get to some of the transactions in a little bit. Let's start with Chiefs Ravens from Thursday night. We'll just go mostly in order. Chiefs 27-20 over the Ravens. Isaiah Likely by a toe was not successful in forcing a 2-point conversion that would have won the game or attempted to win the game, but the refs said no catch, and the Chiefs escaped 27-20. Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes both played pretty well. One touchdown for Lamar Jackson for 273 yards, 26-41. Mahomes 20 of 28 for 291 yards and a touchdown with an interception. What were your overall thoughts on the game, on the first game of the NFL season?
The first game of the NFL season did live up to the billing for this reason. I think when you start talking about Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the world. He is the best quarterback in the world. Might be the best football player in the world. Lamar Jackson is the most electrifying quarterback in the world, and they share in the same field. What did we say last week, Ryan? The one thing Lamar Jackson has not added to his resume, Super Bowl championship and a dub against Patrick Mahomes. He still has not beaten him. And here's the thing. I don't like to make it about Lamar versus Pat Mahomes, but that's what we do, right? We say right. Quarterback versus quarterback. I mean, when you got Chris Jones, you know, a defensive end / defensive tackle, that definitely helps. But the thing I think that was most disappointing about the game, if anything, was this. Lamar Jackson, I know we talked about Isaiah Likely, in my opinion, probably should be starting over Mark Andrews, but you know, Isaiah Likely he's still in his rookie deal. Super duper talented young man out of Coastal Carolina. Had a chance to cover him back in the day. He don't even got, you know, if you start looking at the game, there was some missed opportunities, none greater than the Isaiah Likely one. And look, I don't know what size shoe Isaiah Likely wears. He probably wish he wore a half size smaller. And that's one of those things. And a lot of people said this, Ryan, if that's Travis Kelce catching that from Patrick Mahomes, same exact thing, do they keep the touchdown? Because they want to go to overtime. I say they do. But it was the right call. Let me say that. It was the right call.
I think if the foot's out of bounds, Ben, the foot's out of bounds.
It is.
The right call should be the right call no matter who it is.
But I think this is what makes that game scary. Xavier Worthy, you know, fastest player ever to run in the combine out of Texas. First touch, you know, reverse touchdown, right?
Yep.
How does he get that wide open? Like Marlon Humphrey. Like, here's the thing. He's the fastest guy on the field. Who are you pushing him to? He was so wide open. I'm like, you know, that kind of stuff just baffles me. But this is what makes Patrick Mahomes. There was no, outside of Taylor Swift, there really wasn't that much of a Travis Kelce sighting that day. Like, he made some plays, but not the Travis Kelce we used to, and they still won the game. What makes Kansas City dangerous is Pacheco, who's all right, you know, wasn't special. Xavier Worthy got him in the game a little bit. They still won. Because I think the thing about it is a guy like Lamar Jackson, it's so much on him as far as like the offense. He has to be Superman a lot. He can't just sit in the pocket, make plays. He has to improvise a lot. But one thing about Kansas City is they never said they can't be beat. They never said that, you know, Patrick Mahomes, you know, everybody keep on saying he's lost a step, or I don't think he's as good as he is. He is as good as they come. Because I think the difference is Patrick Mahomes cares less about how it looks and that he does it. I don't care how it looks. I just want to win. I don't care about the beautiful stat line or the box scores. But shout out to the defending champ starting off. Hey, guess what? This time last year, they were losing against Detroit. Right? And everybody like, oh my God. So good game, though. I do think both teams will bounce back. Isaiah Likely talking trash about it. That's as good as they're going to be. Good luck in the playoffs. It's the first game of the year, Isaiah. Like, Isaiah, listen, you had a good game. Look, beautiful touchdown down the sideline, by the way. Great athleticism. It's the first game of the year. And think about this. If they don't look that good now, they still beat y'all. If they don't look that good, they still beat. Anyway, great game to start the season. I can live with it. It's Pat Mahomes. It's Kansas City. It's Taylor Swift, it's Coach Andy Reid. Hey, what can I say, man? The showstoppers are still, everybody knows if you can't beat Kansas City, you can't win.
Well, and then we followed that up with Sao Paulo, Brazil, between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers, where the Eagles came out on top 34-29, but not without a casualty on the Green Bay side. Jordan Love sprained his MCL. He's looking to be about 3 to 4 weeks of time missing in action. Barkley, though, was the highlight of this game. 3 touchdowns for Saquon. He was a man amongst boys out there as Saquon did his thing. 18-yard pass for a rec touchdown, a rushing touchdown of 11 yards, and then finished it with a 2-yard run. Not to mention, A.J. Brown caught a 67-yarder as well. Not to mention Jalen Reed, 70-yarder for Green Bay. So this was offensive fireworks at some point. I watched a lot of this game, and I thought this was one of the best games of the weekend personally. It looked like the environment was was very full of Brazil fans, but the red zone, especially, a little slick. They had to change cleats, I think, at halftime. Some of the surface level was not the best, in my opinion. But overall, what did you think internationally that this game means for the NFL going to Brazil, obviously, and then your overall reaction to this game?
It's great for the game. I mean, Roger Goodell was in the house. He was there. I think when you start talking about football at the global scale, Ryan, you have to do these things. Now, they starting out the season. Think about that. There used to be a time, you want to play overseas. It's going to be game 7 or 8. First game of the year, win Brazil. What? Yeah, win Brazil. You talk about the Eagles. You talk about the Packers. I feel bad for the players because Brazil did all they could to get that field together. And what people need to know, football players need grass. Real grass. I don't know what they were slipping a lot. The game was kind of ugly at first, just slipping a lot. But as you mentioned, the stars all aligned. None bigger than Saquon Sagan. Accounted for 3 touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 1 in the air. A.J. Brown, if you haven't seen him, he's a Decepticon, people. Listen, number 11 for Philly is one of the best receivers in the league. He could take a slant, and as you can see, he was able to go out there and get it done. Mr. Jaden Reed. At first, I'm like, this high-priced secondary, CJ Gardner-Johnson and Darius Slay, he was making those boys look very, very, very normal. Very normal. But here's the thing that stood out the most to me about the game. Jordan Love, praying for a speedy recovery. He played really, really well. Philadelphia can't stop the run again. See, this time last year, we were talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. When you look at how many stars were on that Philadelphia Eagles defense, it really didn't show. Like, the pass rush wasn't there the way you wanted it to. They still got the win because Jalen Hurts really, really played well. The 2 interceptions, really weren't something that I could agree with, but you still won. I would say for me, Malik Willis is the backup for Jordan Love, former Tennessee Titan, by the way. The game was good. I think when you talk about the international aspect of things, Ryan, they're trying to grow it, but the game was good. It wasn't as good as Kansas City, as Baltimore, but it was good. Now it was good. I'm just happy that the players were able to get them different cleats on because all that slipping around wasn't to my liking. But really, really good game. A really, really good
game. Yep. Not to mention, former Tennessee Titan Ryan Tannehill has been contacted by the Packers to be a potential replacement for Jordan Love for a few weeks. That was just a rumor that was out there. I saw no official thing has been done between them, but at least the interest has been out there. So take from that what you will.
Definitely call for desperate measures. As you calling Ryan Tannehill phone, we're like, hello, it's Ryan Tannehill, right? Yeah, you sure? All right. His wife's like, what? Hey man, it pays to be a quarterback in good shape. Somewhere Cam Newton is going. Really? Y'all want Ryan Tannehill? Okay. Hey.
Yeah. Well, Cam's killing it with the 4th and 1 podcast.
He is. Shout out to Cam Newton, man. He's really killing it there. And Funky Fridays. He's really, really doing his thing.
Yeah, he's doing his thing. Speaking of Cam Newton and his former team of the Carolina Panthers, let's get to the Carolina Panthers. This was not a good game for Panther fans out there. 47-10 Saints over the Panthers in the Louisiana Caesars Superdome. Derek Carr would look like a future Hall of Famer out there in the first game. 3 touchdowns, over 200 yards passing, and Alvin Kamara had a touchdown as well. Rashid Shaheed had a touchdown over J.C. Horn, but it looked like, from what I saw, it looked like there was supposed to be safety help there over the top with Jordan Fuller, so a little bit of a busted coverage, at least on the first touchdown. But regardless, Panthers put up 10 points, Saints put up 47. Bryce Young still looking like the game is a little still too big for him at this moment. I think right now he's just not seeing the field clearly. But it looked like, looking at PFF, it looks like their offensive line did really well protecting Bryce for the most part during this game. But it seemed like, just from my observations, the defense of the Panthers did not show up on Sunday at all. And on the offense, Bryce was missing open receivers, and he simply just could not consistently see the field pretty well, at least in this first game. So I'm going to say, before you say what you thought of this game specifically, my question is, as a former NFL player, since I obviously did not play in the league, did you, one, have a game like this ever happen in your career? And two, if you did, what is the mentality going into practice that next week if you're the Carolina Panthers players? Is it, do you flush the film and just don't watch it? Or is it like, no, let's watch the film, let's learn from it, and then make sure that does not happen for 16 more games or ever again?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course I've had games like that. I was in the same division as a prime Peyton Manning with the Indianapolis Colts, with him, and Dallas Clark, and Joseph Adai, and Marvin Harrison Sr., Reggie Wayne. So, yeah. I mean, I've had these type of games. It was 30-3 in the first half. It was 30-3 at the end of the first half, right? Panthers O-line, and I know they tried to address it. I saw Camp Confidential. They are not earning their money. As much as we want to talk about Bryce Young, and I get it. He gets it. Sanders and Hubbard combined for 11 carries, 36 yards. Both of your starting running backs combined for 11 carries, 36. So the running game is out, which means all the defense is going to do is pin their ears back, and they're just going to come after the quarterback. The mere fact that Bryce Young is as small as he is and he's still able to get up from some of these hits, I don't think the game is too big for him, right? He's improvising. Why? Remember, you was at the game. Deontay Thompson, do you remember? Did you see? It's not his fault. Was he separated? No. Adam Thielen, was he separated? No. Was he able to get separated? And I'm not. The reason why I'm not putting the blame on one person, I'm not even going to get on the defense. When J.C. Horn, where I am, when J.C. Horn gives up the big touchdown, he's looking at the safety. You know why? Because the safety's supposed to be there. That's a post. He's going, dude, you want me to cover her? But I will say this thing about Carolina. You get rid of your best players. You get rid of your best player. You don't address the things like you address the O-line, but you gave a bunch of money, but it's the first game. You asked, do you go and watch the tape? What do you learn from it? You have to grow from it. You have to put your big boy, pants on. You have to be able to take some hard coaching. Now, it is week one, which means half the teams won, half the teams lost. But it's how you look in losing. It's how you look in losing. As much as you want to put this on Bryce Young, he is running for his life every other play. Can he just sit in the pocket? Nope. Do we got to improvise? No. And I get it. The Saints defense is good. Are they that good? No. They're playing when you get to play from behind, all you're doing is throwing. The run game is gone. It's 30-3. But I will say this: Alvin Kamara is a very, very underrated player. His game is silky smooth. It's silky. Just to watch, it's like he's just floating out there, like he's playing with people. Derek Carr had a good game, surprise, surprise. I mean, 19-23, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. I would say this is for the Panthers. I do think Bryce Young is the guy. I do think you did him a disservice by not addressing things like you got to give him a true number one. I like Thompson. I like him. I do. But you got to give him a true number one. You got to find a way to get the tight ends involved.
Deontay Johnson, correct.
Deontay Johnson, I'm sorry. Yeah. And you got to make sure that when it comes to the running game, it has to be something that you emphasize. Isn't hashtag keep pounding. Well, pounding means you got to run the rock. But it's one game. New Orleans are like world beaters for 1 week. But I do see the Panthers getting better. I do see them finding ways to get the receivers and running game more involved. But yeah, for 1 week it was really ugly out there. It was.
Yeah, and I think they play the Chargers, if I'm not mistaken, next week for their home opener. So the Chargers didn't look great against the Raiders.
And once again, they played the Raiders, so they didn't look great, but the Raiders looked even worse. So Gardner Minshew versus Justin Herbert, even though Herbert didn't look great, but we'll get to that game this soon.
Yeah, we'll get there. So, we'll see if the Panthers can bounce back next week. Let's get to the Buffalo Bills and the Arizona Cardinals. Josh Allen It seemed, was a little injured after the game. His hand looks like he's going to be okay for Thursday night if they have a short turnaround, which we can talk about that game too. But 2 touchdown passes for him and 2 runs as well for a 34-28 win over the Arizona Cardinals. Marvin Harrison Jr. was targeted 1 time in this game. And that's a problem if you were the Arizona Cardinals and you also were winning without Marvin Harrison Jr. You blew the game, in my opinion. They had a 17-3 lead and they lost. That cannot happen on the road. You had it in your hands, and they ended up losing the game there at the very end. I didn't see a lot of this game, but from what I saw on both sides, Cardinals, they took control early, and then the Bills kind of snatched it from their hands late. And so what were your observations from this close win by the Bills?
Same old Cardinals, same old Bills. The thing about the Bills, and if you ever seen Josh Allen play, he will make life extremely hard on themselves early. But they know how to close. The one thing about the Bills, they will close like a freight train. And as you mentioned, 2 touchdown passes, 2 rushing touchdowns. 9 rushes, 39 yards. 4 touchdowns accounted for. It's going to be James Conner. For Arizona, 16 rushes, 50 yards, 1 TD. Kyler Murray, 21-31, 162 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 rushes, 57 yards. Kyler Murray is asked to do a lot. Like Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson, for what they mean for their offense, it's not that different. Only difference is one guy wins, the other guy doesn't. Because one guy has a winning culture, the other guy has a losing culture. Marvin Harrison was targeted 1 time. There was a play that Ryan, there was a play in the game that if Kyler Murray is not trying to improvise, he just looks up. You could have hit Marvin. He's in the end zone by himself.
Yep, that was the game. That would have been the game-winning touchdown. Yep.
And I think the thing is, the story of this game is, listen, bad teams find a way to lose, good teams find a way to win. That's it. That is exact, because the Buffalo comes out the way Arizona did. This game, the game was a blowout. Buffalo had to wake up. No Stephon Diggs, no problem. Right? James Cook is going to be a superstar because they're going to feature him in the run game. Von Miller might not be starting anymore, but he can still get to the quarterback like anybody's business because they're going to put him in on passing downs. But I just think this just was a tale of 2 different teams going in 2 different directions. One, Kyler Murray and them, I don't know how many more years he got left on that contract, but that's the only reason why he's still starting there. Not his fault. They gave him a receiver, but the team has to respond. But big win by Buffalo. Coach McDermott, he's going to do a good job of they ain't good starters, but they good finishers. But here's the thing about Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a big guy that plays like a running back sometimes. His body not going to hold up. He already dealing with a hand issue after week 1 because he plays very reckless in his style. It works, but he's a big man that, gets paid a lot of money. We need you for 17 weeks. He will be there for Thursday night, but the fact that these defenders know he got a hurt hand, they're going to be targeting that hand, swiping at that hand. But big win for Buffalo, and like I said, for Arizona, if you can't find a way to get your, top 5 receiver, top 10 receiver, but 1 target, that's not a winning recipe.
So we can talk about the Bills again in a second. Let's go to Miami eking out a win over Jacksonville, 20-17 over the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, 162 yards passing and a touchdown. Tua, 338 yards passing and a touchdown. Tank Bigsby had himself a game, 12 carries for 73 yards. I know he didn't score, but he had a lot of tough runs out there, the former Auburn product, outshining Travis Etienne a little bit. We'll talk about this in the transactions later. Tyreek Hill, 7 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. And did you see the celebration? With the handcuff?
I did. I saw the 40 game.
For those who may not be familiar,
yeah.
For those who may not be familiar, he was arrested prior to the game kicking off. Calais Campbell also was detained as well, and there was a few others that are also involved in that altercation. We won't get into the legal side of it, but obviously there's a lot of statements that were released today by both Hill's attorney and Miami-Dade police. We won't get into all that. But essentially, Hill had a point to prove in this game after the distraction that took place before the game. So the Dolphins get a last-second field goal, literally, to win this game 20-17. Pretty good game overall. What were your thoughts down in South Beach for this one?
You might as well call this Bills versus Arizona 2.0. The Jaguars gave this game away. Travis Etienne is going in for a game, not necessarily a game with a touchdown, but it's going to be hard for the Dolphins. He fumbled on the 1 yard line. Travis Etienne fumbled on the 1 yard line. They get the ball back. I think at one point they was up like 17-0, 17-3, or something like that. The thing about Trevor Lawrence, 12 of 21, 160 yards, 1 touchdown. Tank Bigsby, as you mentioned, had a big day, 12 rushes, 73 yards. Travis Etienne, 12 rushes, 44 yards, 1 touchdown, but he had a huge fumble. Gabe Davis, 3 for 62. Evan Ingram, 1 catch, 5 yards. Got to find a way to get your playmakers the ball. Tua, 23 of 37, 338 yards, 1 touchdown. Listen, listen, Mr. A-Chain, he was the beast. He had a touchdown in the air, he had a touchdown on the ground. Tyreek Hill, what makes him dangerous is 80 yards, outran the defense. And as you mentioned, 7 for 130, Jalen Waddle 5 for 109. The thing about this Dolphins team, they playing with confidence. Now, Trevor Lawrence and company, they're just as talented. They're just as talented, right, as this Dolphins team. But the difference with the Dolphins is they're saying, look, man, we're not losing to the Jags. I don't care if it's got to be ugly. I don't care if we got to scratch a claw for every inch. Good game, though. I think the thing is, Trevor Lawrence is standing over looking at Tua, saying to himself, hey, man, what can I do if I had a guy like Tyreek? Look, no one knows yet. Listen, Brian Thomas, Jr.
Brian Thomas got one. Yeah,
he had 4 for 47. But I think the thing about the Jags is, if you've seen the Jags of late, Travon Walker, two sacks in the game, really coming to his own, being the former number 1 overall pick a couple of years ago. I think the thing about the Jags team that's frustrating is they're good enough to win, but they don't know how to close. The same way I said the Bills know how to close, the Jags do not. They do not know how to close. And I know it's only week 1, but it's almost like the last season shows all of itself in week 1 to say, oh, man, we got to get that bitter taste out of our mouth. Yes, some could say that the Dolphins stole one, but the Jags had it, gave it away. Travis Etienne fumbling, which is characteristic of him. But shout out, Coach McDaniel coming to getting a big dub. And shout out to Tyreek Hill for finding a way to put the distraction before the game, to the side and go out there and make plays.
Real quick, before we continue with the rest of week 1 results, so Bills and Dolphins will be the first game of week 2 in prime time on Thursday Night Football on Amazon down in South Beach, 8:15, 2 1-0 teams. Just briefly preview this game and what you're expecting and who do you think is going to win.
Miami need to find a way to start letting people know that they are a real contender in the AFC East, not a pretender. It's hot. So I know they don't do well in cold weather. They're at home, but the same way Lamar Jackson, the thorn on his side is Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. The thorn in the Miami Dolphins side will be Buffalo and Josh Allen. I don't know what it is when they play them. He can't find a way to get those wins, but it's about building confidence, right? Both Miami and Buffalo had to come from behind slow starting teams. They know each other, but I expect it to be a good one. Do I expect Jalen Phillips and them guys to be pinning their ears back to get to Josh Allen? Yes, but I'm expecting them to have a plan for Tyreek Hill. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but you need to have a plan for this young man. And I expect it to be fireworks, man. I like the fact that the NFL, they're starting out, you got Thursday night, then you got Brazil, then you got next week Thursday night. Hey, man, it's already week 10 and week 2. It should be a good one. Buffalo, the Dolphins prime time.
Well, that will start off week 2, but we'll continue with week 1. Going back, the shocker of the day in some people's eyes, the Patriots, New England Patriots 1-0 over the Cincinnati Bengals 16-10. Jacoby Brissett, the former NC State Wolfpack quarterback and Florida Gator quarterback, had himself a day, 121 yards, passing 15 of 24. Joe Burrow, 21 of 29 for 164 on the other side. DeMondre Stevenson had himself a day, 25 carries, 124 1 tutty. And then Jamar Chase, I think it helped on the other side. He had limited reps after the whole contract dispute. He did not sign a contract before the start of the season. He only had 6 catches for 62 yards. And I'll be honest, this was my survivor pick, and Cincinnati let me down here. So I'll be honest, this was not a good pick for me here. And so what is your thoughts on this shocking, for some people, shocking upset by the Patriots on the road in the jungle? They snatched claws from victory, and they got home with a W.
Cincinnati wasted those beautiful units, man. All orange units. I mean, they came out with
very nice. Yes.
I was like, man, they nice. Jamar Chase, I think, proved to be, a good player, right? But a lot of distractions. I mean, if won his contract, finally got it, still waiting on it. It was a big distraction for Cincinnati. Shout out to Gerard Mayo for this reason. Going into this game, Jacoby Brissett, he's going to get the start. They said Jacoby Brissett said something about Gerard Mayo came to him before the game and said, look, man, you're going to go help us get this win. You're going to ball out. Well, you know who helped you ball out? The mistakes with Cincinnati. A lot of mistakes by Cincinnati this game. A lot, which led to a ugly loss for them and a huge win because no one knew where the Patriots wins were going to come from. Obviously, everybody had Cincinnati winning this game, but shout out to those Patriots for winning an ugly game but finding a way to get it done. I think the thing about Cincinnati is this: I know they got Chase. I know they got T. Higgins. I know they got Joe Burrow. I know they got, Fredericks and all these type of guys. But the Cincinnati Bengals are not the ones that went to the Super Bowl a couple of years back. This is not the same Cincinnati team, right? Yes, you loaded with superstars on offense with Chase and Higgins, right, and company. But you got to find a way to beat teams you better than. Because going to this game, I thought you was better than New England. And on paper, you are. But the game has to be played on the field in between them lines. So shout out to Gerard Mayo, first-year coach, replacing Bill Belichick, getting a big win. And Cincinnati, I don't know if Joe Burrow need to go back to his regular hairstyle because the Macaulay Culkin look ain't working, baby. I don't know about the blonde. I have to go back to the regular look. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So yeah, that's a good point there. So the Bengals start slow once again, as we've seen over the last few years in Cincinnati. Let's talk about Sam Darnold. The Vikings 28-6 dub over the New York Football Giants in those. I'm just going to say it. I'm sorry if there's Giant fans watching this. Ugly uniforms, in my opinion. They were throwback. I know history, blah, blah, blah. They were not good. I'm just going to be honest. They were hideous. I'm sorry. They were. That's just my opinion, and my opinion alone. Thank you. Darnold, 2 touchdown passes. Andrew Van Ginkel scores a one-handed interception as well. And the Vikings topped the Giants 28-6, as I said. Aaron Jones had a rushing touchdown. Jalen Naylor, 21-yard pass from Sam Darnold. And then Justin Jefferson also had himself a touchdown as well. And then on the other side, Daniel Jones, he did not play very well. He tossed some interceptions. Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, non-existent, combined for 3 tackles between the two of them. It looks like another long season in New York after this game, and Sam Darnold is balling to start the year. What were your thoughts in the Big Apple from this one?
If you saw, I want to say they did before the season something, the Hard Knocks, something they was doing with the New York Football Giants. And the talk was throughout, get a quarterback, get a quarterback, get a quarterback. They were talking about getting the quarterback in free agency. They were talking about trying to get Daniels, or trying to get Caleb Williams, or trying to trade up and get one, Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy, one of these first-round QBs. Mm-hmm. Daniel Jones, if you saw him in the preseason, he was throwing interceptions for touchdowns. Daniel Jones has a problem not just throwing the ball to the other team, but the other team returning it for touchdowns. Daniel Jones looked real bad. He looks really, really bad. And here's the thing. No more Saquon in town. And when you talk about this defense that was most disappointing, you got Kayvon Thibodeau. Right? You got Brian Burns. You got Dexter Lawrence. Nothing. I'm talking about those guys. They have to be impactful, but it doesn't matter how good, bad, average they are. Daniel Jones don't play no better than that. It's going to be an extremely long season. I didn't know who that was out there. Those uniforms, I'm sorry. We were supposed to go, oh my God, what are the, at least look like the Giants. Like, who was that? Like, what was that? What was that? The same way I'm giving praise to Cincinnati for the orange on orange. I don't know what it looked like. It looked like the Giants took their white uniforms and threw them in there with the colors. And that's how it came out. Like, we watched the whites with the colors. They played about as bad as the unis look. Yep, they matched the unis. So, and listen, and shout out to Sam Darnold. You talk about a guy, former top 3 pick, I think number 3 overall pick in New York, doesn't work out. I think, was he in Carolina? Was Sam Darnold ever in Carolina?
Yes, he was. Former Carolina.
And to find a place for himself, out there in Minnesota. Yes, you got Jordan Addison, right? Yes, you got Justin Jefferson. But winning cures all ills, all stink. It is the greatest fragrance there is when it comes to football. So I'm not going to blame this on a bad Giants team. I'm going to blame this on a focus Vikings team. Shout out to Sam Darnold and getting a big dub, man. Because like I say, NFL, the hardest thing to do is to win. But the even more harder thing to do is to win consistently. The Giants will do none of the winning or the winning consistently. Shout out to the Vikings for a big win.
Let's go to Chi-Town, Chicago, where Caleb Williams and Will Levis faced off, second-year quarterback versus the number 1 overall rookie quarterback from this past draft. Rough debut for Caleb Williams. He did not toss a touchdown, 93 yards passing. Will Levis had a touchdown and 2 interceptions. One of those a very ugly interception. Not a good decision there by Will Levis. Tony Pollard had 82 yards on 16 carries for a touchdown. DJ Moore, 5 catches for 36 yards. He left the game very briefly and was able to come back in, thankfully. Good to see good players come back into the game. But the Bears defense really carried this home for Caleb Williams and company. Will Levis said it after the game. They blew it. They did not they did not play winning football down the stretch, and they knew that they kind of wasted one here. Before I ask your analysis, have you seen one of the 435 jobs that Bill Belichick has? Is he's on the CW, and he talked about Caleb Williams, and he said, because they asked him, I know you saw some of the throws he made in the preseason, and how's he looked at overall as the number 1 overall pick, and Bill's like, he hasn't looked great, and he kind of says what he thinks, and Bill is Bill, and now that he's not coaching, at least for this season, it's kind of refreshing to get Bill Belichick unfiltered, if you will, and I like it. So there's a lot of people who were like, Bill, are you sure you want to say that? I mean, because let's be honest, the media is praising Caleb Williams like he's the next Patrick Mahomes, and I get it. He had some Patrick Mahomes-like throws in some preseason games. I get it, but it's the preseason, and the regular season, yes, they got the W, but he was not the reason they got the W.
Of course, and the thing is, no, Ryan, no, don't just say it out loud. No, Bill Belichick is telling the truth. He's being honest. He's not going with what everybody, this narrative. Yes, Caleb Williams, and here's the thing: Caleb Williams, number 1 overall pick, supposed to be the first Chicago Bear to throw for 4,000 yards. Who cares? 4,000 yards don't mean anything in today's NFL. Some of the worst quarterbacks statistically winning games can have over 4,000. Anyway, Bill Belichick said the truth. Here's the thing: when someone says that's a Patrick Mahomes type throw, no, it's not. We talk about Patrick Mahomes like Patrick Mahomes is like 60 years old in the Hall of Fame. No, he's in the NFL right now. Patrick Mahomes that just played? No, he threw a pass like Caleb Williams, right? And here's the thing: Caleb Williams had nothing to do with the win on Sunday. Nothing. His top 3 receivers, you mentioned DJ Moore. Keenan Allen had 4 for 29. Roman Duza had 1 for 11. So all three of his top receivers didn't have 100 yards. All 3 of them. That's because real football is different than this simulation that you be doing in practice, to where they cannot hit you. They're gonna let you throw in practice. But you were very, very nice. I'm not gonna be nice. Will Levis, what are you doing? Here's the thing about the Titans: they was up 17-0 with a rookie quarterback on the other team, and you lost for 2 reasons. Will Levis and the special teams / defense of Chicago. Special teams was a big factor. Defense was a huge factor. Shout out to Javon Dexter, former Florida Gator man, getting a big sack. You know what I'm saying? I got to always show love to my Gators. So Calvin Ridley, 3 for 50. Boyd, 3 for 18. Listen, Chigwozi, Okonkwo. Whoa, beautiful touchdown. But you mentioned an egregious throw. He's getting sacked. He's trying to, he's rolling to the left side. He's getting sacked. Instead of just, speaking of Patrick Mahomes got his quarterbacks doing things that only Patrick Mahomes can do. He's getting sacked, and he flips the ball out. Gets picked for a touchdown. And then obviously you get a big pick at the end to seal, for Chicago to seal the win. The thing about this Tennessee Titans team, you're not good enough to do that. Because both defenses played well for the Titans and Chicago, except Chicago team had to play well because that's the only way they had a shot to win. And that's not going to be a recipe for success. And shout out to Caleb Williams doing something that hasn't been done in a while. I can't remember the last time a number 1 overall pick won their first game. That is extremely hard to do, no matter how good you are. And I think Caleb Williams is going to be better. Yes, he has to be. But for one weekend, he kept it a buck. He said, look, man, shout out to the defense, shout out to the special teams, shout out to my teammates, man. They bailed me out. But when you got a guy like Will Levis on the other side, throwing the ball to the other team, I saw Marcus Mariota throw a pass from off on the ground. I never thought I would see it again. I saw it on Sunday.
That was against the Carolina Panthers, if I'm not mistaken.
And the only reason why that wasn't a touchdown pass against Marcus Mariota, because when he was on the ground, the ball is dead. Anyway, shout out to the Bears for a big win. Will Levis. Malik Willis is out of town. Right? Malik Willis is gone. They thought that Malik Willis wasn't the answer because they thought that Will Levis was. They both went second round in back-to-back years. Malik Willis going to start against the Packers. Guess who the Packers playing? The Titans. We going to see. We're going to see if the Packers made the right decision and the Titans made the wrong. We'll see, but like I say, shout out to Chicago. But that was an ugly situation because the quarterback job is to protect the football, not throw the football to the other team. And if you're getting sacked, just take the freaking sack. My goodness.
Yeah. Easier said than done if you're not an NFL quarterback. But David Carr was the answer to your question. The first rookie since David Carr to win his first start in the Texans franchise expansion year of 2002. Okay. There is your answer to that one. Speaking of those Texans, C.J. Stroud pulled out a 29-27 victory over your former Florida Gator, Anthony Richardson, and the Indianapolis Colts, 29-27. C.J. Stroud tossed 2 tutties, 234 yards. Anthony Richardson, 2 tutties himself, 212 yards, and had an interception. That one throw that Anthony Richardson made from about the 30-yard line was a thing of beauty. I mean, it was a missile up there, and I didn't know where it was going, but it ran into the right place. I believe it was Alex Pierce that caught that touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. Woo, that was really nice. I'm just going to say it. I watched that game, and when I saw that throw, I just was doing backflips where I was at. That was amazing. Joe Mixon, 159 yards on 30 carries. That's not a typo. 30 carries for Joe Mixon, former Cincinnati Bengal. And Anthony Richardson also added 6 carries on the ground for 56 yards. Alec Pierce had that touchdown, as we mentioned, for 125 yards. Really good game. Anthony Richardson, a little inconsistent in the second half. Stroud and company was able to pull that out at the end. They converted a 4th down for a touchdown later in the game, and they were able to steal this victory. What were your thoughts?
Very exciting game. I think the NFL should be very, very excited about these young quarterbacks, both in their second year. Anthony Richardson showed why, you got to be excited if you are an Indianapolis Colts fan. I mean, 9 of 19, completed 9 passes for 212 yards, a touchdown, a pick, 6 rushes, 56 yards. Jonathan Taylor, though, 16 rushes, 48 yards, 1 touchdown. You're going to have to get more production out the run game because you're going to need him. Down like you mentioned, Alec Pierce, 3 for 125. That was a beauty. That was a cannon. Those DBs did not think he could get it there. Like, when you started, he threw it. Good Lord. He caught that thing in stride. C.J. Stroud continues to amaze. 24-32, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 Stephon Diggs, 6 catches, 33 yards, 2 touchdowns, and obviously Nico Collins, 6 for 117. You saw 2 teams, right, that are going to be scratching and clawing to the end. I think it's going to come down to those 2 teams, who's going to win that division. But for 1 week, first week, it was really, really good. I think the Texans – understand it's going to be a group effort. Now, I don't know. Joe Mixon 30 carries week 1. That's setting up for a Derrick Henry type season as far as carries. They're going to utilize him in the run game. I don't know if Damian Pierce is still on the roster. If he is, I don't know if he's going to be the backup. Is going to take some of the workload off. But it was a really, really good game, a great showcase game. Anthony Richardson, the best thing about him is, even in the losing effort, hey, man, you played better and you're healthy. You realize that we need you week in and week out. We need you to be Superman. When we call you to be Superman, sometimes the best play is no play. Throw the ball away, live to play another day. But C.J. Stroud, silky smooth game, man. Nice. Now, I saw some on the sideline where Stephon Diggs kind of showing why he's not in Buffalo and why he's not in Minnesota anymore. Somebody probably told him, listen, bro, this is our starting quarterback. Don't be yelling at him. He's going to get you the rock. And you got 2 tubs. It shouldn't – I care less about yards, more about first downs and touchdowns. You had 33 yards, but you had 2 tubs. You got the dub. Move on to the next one. Great game for AFC South. They're still fighting for an identity as a whole. But I think having guys like C.J. Stroud, and Anthony Richardson help you deal with the fact you got Trevor Lawrence and freaking Will Levis.
Let's go to ATL Atlanta. The Pittsburgh Steelers get the W 18-10 over the Atlanta Falcons. Justin Fields started over Russell Wilson due to a calf injury. 6 field goals for the Steelers, 0 touchdowns on the day. Falcons land a Kyle Pitts 12-yard pass from Kirk Cousins as the only touchdown of the day. A shout out to former Florida Gator there. Kyler Pitts looking to be healthy, hopefully for this full season as he's been trying to stay healthy. Bijan Robinson's 18 carries on 68 yards total. Najee Harris on the other side had 20 carries for 70 yards. Kirk Cousins had a back-breaking interception, and he had quite the game himself. 155 yards, 16 and 26. overall inconsistencies from the Falcons doomed them at home, in my opinion. But what was your thoughts on this 0-1 start for Atlanta? And shout out to the Pittsburgh Steelers for former coach Arthur Smith, OC, now in the Steel City, as he was able to get some sweet revenge on his former employer this past Sunday.
Listen, I know it was great to see Mike Tomlin, look over and see where, Raheem Morris, a guy that he spoke highly about. Shout out to the Pivot Podcast, man. They was talking to Mike Tomlin. They asked him before Raheem Morris actually got the head coaching job with Atlanta. They said, who's a coach in the NFL that you think is going to be next head? He said, Raheem Morris is the smartest football coach I know that's not a head coach. Now they get to coach against each other. So shout out to that. But this is a culture versus hype. Pittsburgh has an incredible culture. You know how I know? The guy that was supposed to be the starter had a knee problem. And Justin Fields, ATL born and bred, by the way. That boy get to play against his hometown Falcons. He grew up a Falcons fan. He's from Kennesaw, Georgia. Deal with it. But Justin Fields did enough to win the game for two reasons. He went out there. Look, I know A.J. Terrell got his money in the offseason. George Pickens, oh, God. I mean, that was – George Pickens was killing A.J. Like, this was embarrassing how bad George Pickens was just picking on A.J. Terrell all game. And that's all that it was A.J. Terrell versus George Pickens that throw the Pat Freiermuth to get a first down. But you mentioned Fields, 17 to 23, 156 yards, no picks. Didn't turn the football over. And there's a guy by the name of T.J. Watt. I don't know what type of game. You got to chip him every play. You know how many sacks he would have had if they would have counted, like if it wasn't like penalties and all this other stuff. I mean, listen, on the one play where they tried to Kirk Cousins and company watching the offense, he still got to learn it. Bringing guys in motion and the ball hitting off the guy in motion, getting guys lined up right, guys. How many illegal formations did they call on Sunday against the Falcons? But shout out to the Steelers. Mike Tomlin shows you why he's never had a losing season, because they don't panic over there. You know what I'm saying? When it's Steel City, they just don't panic. Justin Fields, a guy that was ready to be a backup, gets to start against his hometown Falcons in Atlanta, gets the dub. Kirk Cousins, the one that got $180 million, 36-year-old guy, 30, coming off an Achilles. I think he's the first starting quarterback to start after an Achilles tear since Trent Dilfer in 2002. Trent Dilfer, who won Super Bowl with the Ravens, by the way, not because of him, but because of Ray Lewis. Anyway, I'm just saying the Falcons have a lot of problems. They got a lot, starting with my favorite cousin, Kirk. Kirk Cousins gonna have to play better than that. That was hard to watch. The only reason why Kyle Pitts got the touchdown pass, if you guys remember, he's 6'6", he's standing in the end zone wide open, having a temper tantrum because Kirk can't see him. Like, I'm 6'6", man. I wear number 8. But once again, I will make no excuses. I will tell no lies. The Atlanta Falcons got a lot of problems. The Pittsburgh Steelers got some problems too, because that offense is gonna have to get better. Like, find a way to. Najee Harris is good, but you're gonna have to find a way to feature George Pickens. I think George Pickens might not be a top 5 receiver, but talent, I think he's top 5. He is that good. He was toying with AJ Terrell, but Pittsburgh get a big win in Atlanta. A lot of hype, no results. That's why I say culture versus hype, and culture will beat hype every time.
Yeah. Let's get to these last 5 games from week 1, and then we'll check in briefly on the Monday Night Football game currently in slate, and we'll get to some transactions before we get out of here. Raiders-Chargers 22-10 victory over the Chargers in SoFi Stadium. Gardner Minshew had 257 yards passing for 1 tutty and an ugly interception. He also had a fumble that was quite funny, if you ask me. 144 yards for Justin Herbert and a touchdown himself. J.K. Dobbins had him a day, 10 carries, 135 yards, and a touchdown. Ladd McConkey, former Georgia, second-round pick for the Chargers. Good to see him get a touchdown, 1 touchdown, 5 recs for 39 yards. And then Zamir White, picking up where he left off last year, 13 carries for 44 yards. Raiders did not look good, though, but neither did the Chargers in this game. This was kind of a test of wills to see who would blink first, and Gardner Minshew kind of blinked for them. And the Chargers came out with this victory.
Different year, same Raiders. I mean, I like Antonio Pierce. I mean, I think he is the guy for the job. Max Crosby was a hell raiser. He was all over the field, but he cannot do it by himself. As you mentioned, Gardner Minshew, 25 for 33, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, ugly interception at that. Zamir White did do his thing. Devontae Adams, Brock Bowers, they combined right, for 11 catches, a little bit over 100 yards. Brock Bowers, I think, is going to be a star. He was making some plays. You mentioned J.K. Dobbins, doing his thing. The thing about the Chargers, man, the Chargers are average every year, man. Like they all right. They don't do nothing special, right? Harbaugh get it for his first win as a Charger head coach. But the Raiders help people so much. They just do these uncharacteristic things. Don't help other teams beat you. You're wasting the best jersey combination in the league. Yeah, the people what's that? Silver and black. What's a better combination than that? You can't mess that up. Who can mess that up? The Raiders, the one who wears silver and black. Gardner Minshew, you're gonna have to play better. I am happy to see Justin Herbert back out there. I mean, no Mike Williams, no Keenan Allen, no problem. They still get the dub. A division win, by the way. But hey, man, I just think that for one night, it was an ugly game on both sides. Neither team looked great. It's just that I think the Chargers found a way to look a little bit better. So shout out to the Chargers getting a big win.
Let's go to Seattle, 26-20 over the Broncos. Bo Nix, the rookie quarterback, first one since John Elway in 1980s for the Broncos. First one there. 138 yards, 2 interceptions. Geno Smith on the other side had 171 yards, an interception, and then a 33-yard rushing touchdown as well. So Geno Smith had some green grass there on that one. I could not believe he was that wide open for that touchdown that he ran. Kenneth Walker, 20 carries, 103 yards and a touchdown. He had himself a decent day, as well as the Seahawks squeezed one out on the ground, and they were able to secure victory in week 1 in Mike McDonald's coaching debut for them. What were your thoughts on this game?
Seattle defense, they was tough late. It really, really was. They kept forcing Bo Nix to the left. Like once they started realizing, listen, man, we're gonna shut down the right side. We're gonna force him left, so we got to contort his body to try to make throws. Shout out to Bo Nix though, man. He kept him in the game. He was doing all he can to make plays. I mean, Geno Smith, he did enough to win. 18 to 25, 171 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Hey, but Kenneth Walker 20 for 103, 5.2, 1 tub. I think the difference was, Seattle's at home. The 12th man did play a difference in it. Shout out to them Seattle jerseys, though, man. Very, very nice jersey combination. They need to wear that more. DK Metcalf, he had some problems. I'm just saying, there was a young man out there that was kind of, going toe to toe with him. Patrick Surtain, he's a bad man. You can stop. DK Metcalf was carved in the lab, but guess what? So was Patrick Surtain. They was in the same lab. They said, hey, man, who's going to guard this dude? Patrick Surtain said, I'll take it. And he did his thing. But I just think Denver's going to have a very, very long year, extremely long year. Because outside of Cortland Sutton, I don't know consistently who Bo Nix going to throw the ball to that can consistently get open. But I think for Seattle, look, you found a way to get it done. And you did get it done. Seattle defense, man, no Legion of Boom, but they got a culture up there of defense, kind of like Baltimore and Pittsburgh and Chicago, and they get it done. Once they start making plays, they got like a swarm type defense. So shout out to that Seattle defense late, and shout out to Tyler Lockett, man. I think he's going into year 10. Yes. I think he's the all-time leading receiver right now, if he hasn't already broken that for the Seattle Seahawks. Just super duper consistent. Never ever gonna be on nobody's radar being the top receiver in the league. But for Seattle, this Steve Largent and company. Just remember those guys back in the day. He's getting it done. But shout out to Seattle, man. It doesn't matter how you get it done. Is that you get it done, they got it done.
Tyler Lockett, product of K-State. They played down in Tulane this weekend. I was in New Orleans, as you mentioned earlier. And so Kansas State came out with that W over Tulane. Good game there. I was not there, but a lot of people around the city were talking about that game on Saturday in the college football world. Buccaneers, actually, I should mention before I go to the Buccaneers, in Chargers victory also was Jim Harbaugh's first victory as a Chargers head coach, second team in the NFL as a head coach, formerly of the 49ers, as we know, University of Michigan, and Stanford, of course, back in the day. But yes, Chargers winning 22-10 and give Jim Harbaugh his first win as the Chargers head coach. Buccaneers 37-20 over the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels, rookie quarterback for Washington, had an up and down day. 17-24 for 184 yards, a rushing touchdown. Or 2 touchdowns, I should mention. Baker Mayfield, 4 touchdowns, 24-30, 289 yards. He picked up right where he left off last year with Liam Cohen as his new offensive coordinator, replacing Dave Canales, now the head man in Carolina. Chris Godwin added a touchdown as well on his day for 8 catches for 83 yards. And this game was never really close. The Bucs kind of the Bucs kind of eased their way to victory. Didn't feel like they put up a lot of effort. It seemed pretty easy for them on this day, from my observation.
The Commanders going to have a long season. Jaden Daniels, I think, is going to be a really, really good player. I think he's realizing real fast that, hey, man, my legs going to get me out of trouble. My legs going to help me, make plays, but they pay me to throw the football, and they kind of shut that down. I mean, Jaden Daniels, 184 yards, 88 yards, rushing 2 touchdowns. Brian Robinson, junior 40 yards, 1 touchdown. Baker Mayfield, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns. You mentioned Chris Godwin had a touchdown. Rashad White, 75 yards. Mike Evans, Mr. Consistent. Mike Evans, he's only had 1,000 yards since he came out of Texas A&M. That's all he does. He's about to. That 1 touchdown catch he had was just ridiculous. And obviously he's a little older now. But he's signed a contract extension in the offseason. He's earned it. I think that the thing about Baker Mayfield, he said, "Look, man, they allowed me to be myself, and I'm really, really good when I just get to be myself out there." Baker Mayfield, he's a really, really good quarterback. Found a way to resurrect his career. He played for Carolina. He played for Cleveland. He played for the Rams. Now he's over there with the Bucs, signed a contract extension, $100 million contract extension all season. The thing about the Commanders is this. They have an identity problem. The reason why they have an identity problem, they got some good players on defense. They didn't show up on Sunday. You don't even know who those guys were. Jaden Daniels was all the offense that he was instant offense. But here's the thing about Jaden Daniels. It's not a matter of if. And Ryan, it's when. When he does get hit, because he's going to utilize his legs. Can he get up? Can he deal with the injuries? He's going to have to deal with them because he puts his body, in harm's way. If you saw, he was scrambling. He didn't slide. He kind of did a flip. He did like a somersault because he couldn't stop. Dude, just slide. Sliding for quarterbacks in the NFL is the only reason why you're gonna make it. Ask Cam Newton. Ask Michael Vick. Ask guys whose careers came to an end because they didn't want to learn how to slide. No one's gonna care about, hey man, you too big to be sliding. I don't care. I want to be here for the next play. But shout out to the Bucs. This was when they kicked the ball off, the game was over. Really, they did what they want to do, quarter in and quarter out. But I think the Commanders got a lot of problems, especially in the NFC East. And I think for the Bucs right now, they're looking at the NFC South saying, Carolina, not worried about them. Atlanta, what do y'all got Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr. His AKA self-destruct. He will self-destruct sooner rather than later. Just keep watching.
I'm going to leave time for one particular game that I want to make sure we get to. So I'm going to go over the Sunday night game, 26-20 Lions over the Rams in overtime, as Matthew Stafford did not see the ball at all in overtime, and Jared Goff made sure the former hometown hero did not get to see that at all, and he did not give him a chance to answer in overtime as David Montgomery's 1-yard rush got the win for the Detroit Lions. Matthew Stafford put the team on his back to even force overtime, 370 yards, passing, 101 touchdown, 1 interception. Jared Goff, 217 for himself, 1 touchdown, and interception as well. Kyren Williams, 18 carries for 50 yards. Cooper Kupp, 14 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown. And then Jameson Williams, Bryce Young's favorite target at Alabama, 5 catches for 121 yards. He had that long touchdown. I believe it was in the 60-yard range.
Yes.
Might have been a little more than that, but 52-yard pass. And then, unfortunately, Puka Nacua was lost in this game. Now, we can go over to that transaction. Now, it looks like he's week to week, aggravated his PCL. And so that's an unfortunate for the Rams. And, they had, I think their left tackle was already out. Their left guard was already out. And they're playing musical chairs on this offensive line. So even just having the chance to force overtime is impressive for this Rams team with all these injuries going into the year. But this was an impressive win by the Lions in overtime. What were your thoughts on this one?
Great back and forth. I think mentality won. I think when Matthew Stafford decided, hey man, I want to just go ahead and get the ball down the field, you cannot stop him with Cooper Kupp. That is the best 1-2 combo in the National Football League. To watch Cooper Kupp play football is beauty in motion. It's this guy is not the fastest guy, not the biggest guy, but when he runs, them DBs are scared to death because once he starts getting his rhythm, you can't do nothing with him. They're gonna the way they use motion about the same way Miami uses motion. That motion is dictating coverage, is dictating schemes. But I just like this. Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford both started their career, on opposite teams. Obviously, one in Detroit, one with the Rams. No. Only thing Jared Goff didn't have in the Super Bowl was Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp was hurt when he was in the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots. That's why they didn't score a touchdown. And when Matthew Stafford did have Cooper Kupp, not only they win the Super Bowl, Cooper Kupp was the Super Bowl MVP. Here's the thing, though. Jared Goff say, hey, man, I appreciate everything that happened out there with the Rams. I'm away with Detroit. I faced you twice in Detroit, and I got the dub. Because in overtime, Dan Campbell said, forget all the throws. We're going to run the ball. That's it. We're gonna just run it. Run the football in overtime against a very, very, I want to say winded, tired Rams defense.
Yep.
It was beautiful. They said, we're going to just run it. We're going to run it, and we're going to run it, and we're going to run it, and we're going to run it. And when we score, not if we score, we're going to look to that sideline. And in the post-game press conference, they asked Matthew Stafford, did you get tired of them yelling Jared Goff? Yeah. Well, if you don't like it, get out of town. The Jared Goff is our quarterback. You are our former quarterback. And I just think the game, though, for Sunday night, beautiful game. Like, beautiful back and forth. Alex Anzalone, though, shout out to another Florida Gator. He is the heart and soul of that defense. But let me tell y'all something. Everybody want to talk about the Bosa brothers, right? Everybody want to talk about T.J. Watt. Everybody want to talk about, Myles Garrett. Aiden Hutchinson is a beast. I mean, this boy was all over the field. But shout out to Detroit and the coach, Dan Campbell, picking up where they left off in 2023 to let people know this ain't no fluke, man. We coming, but we listen. When it come to different divisions or whatever, they coming for that NFC, man. I'm trying to tell you, it's going to be a fight to the finish with a team that plays like that.
Yeah. Amon St. Brown with a quiet game, only 3 catches, I believe. Yeah. He had a quiet game, but they have a lot of weapons, like you said, in Detroit to kind of throw it around. Sam Laporta had a nice game as well.
He did.
So yeah, a lot of weapons for Jared Goff to throw. All right. Let's really quickly, but not too quickly. The Dallas Cowboys, 33-17 over the Cleveland Browns. Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett both wreaked havoc on these quarterbacks, but it seemed like Myles Garrett was just a touch too slow for Dak Prescott in this game as Dak put on a show. Now the highest paid quarterback in NFL history with that contract. We can talk about it too. 179 yards, a touchdown, 1932. Zeke Elliott had one as well. CeeDee Lamb, 5 catches for 61 yards. No touchdowns, but some few really good catches along the sideline. David Njoku exit with an ankle injury, high ankle sprain. He's going to be out a few weeks. That was tough to see, and took a big shot to the head as well. Had 4 catches in this game, drone forward, added a touchdown. But let's talk about Deshaun Watson. He was also in the news today as well for something non-football related. We will not get into that. But 169 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 24 of 45. Good Lord. I know this man was missing his starting right and left tackle, which I know does make a difference. We all know that. But it just seems like it's now or never for this man this season with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, and I went ahead and I was intentional. I looked this up before I came on here with you. His contract, they cannot cut him this season. They cannot cut him next season. And they can maybe get out of that contract in 2026. And if they get out before then, it will be the biggest cap hit, more than Russell Wilson's with Denver was. And that was very big, in the hundreds. So something's going to have to change. Ken Dorsey, former Buffalo offensive coordinator who got fired last year, formerly of Carolina as well. I think he coached Cam Newton at one point with quarterbacks. Whatever he did week 1, I know Cam Fancy's calling the plays. That did not work against this Dallas Cowboys defense and Micah Parsons. Shout out to Mike Zimmer, the new defensive coordinator there in Dallas. First game for him back in Big D. So I said a lot there. So this game, I thought this was going to be the best game of the 4 o'clock hour, and it was definitely the worst game of the 4 o'clock hour.
Deshaun Watson, I kept saying this. Remember I said last show we haven't seen him in a while. I haven't seen him on the field for meaningful football. Even in 2023, he was out there very, very briefly, got hurt, and then Joe Flacco had to come in and lead them to the playoffs, right? Isn't life different for the Cleveland Browns when they don't have a steady running game? Right? Nick Chubb means so much to this team.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing about Deshaun Watson, as you just mentioned, the contract is just they got a problem. They got to pay him this year. They got to pay him next year. They're trying to find ways, but he got an ironclad contract, and he did it. Being away from football like a year, almost 2 years, and still signing when this contract came, people were like, how in the world did he do that? But then you start talking about the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott at the running back position, CeeDee Lamb, you talking Brandon Cooks, the defense for Dallas, 6 sacks, 2 interceptions. Dallas is going to be tough, man. But I don't know how good Dallas is because they went up against the Cleveland Browns team that doesn't have an identity and a quarterback that they don't. Listen, the Cleveland Browns are in the similar situations as the New York Football Giants. They don't really want him, but they got to keep him because of the contract. They don't want him, but they got to keep him. So, but incredible win. Congratulations to Dak Prescott, man. He got his money. Him and CeeDee Lamb got his money. Ezekiel Elliott comes up on a 1-year deal. Micah Parsons, every day that ticks by that you don't give him his money, that money is going up. Every day. There is no more impactful defensive player in the league than Micah. I don't know if you can be. Put him on the left side, problem. Put him on the right side, problem. Put him at defensive tackle, problem. Put him at linebacker. So shout out to Micah. Just every day that check is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But I just think it was you got two teams going in two totally different directions. Dallas Cowboys understand we got to keep pace with that NFC East, that being the Eagles, by the way, not the New York Football Giants or the Commanders. And I think for the Cleveland Browns, 2023 is not 2024. I don't know how many wins they're going to get this year. I don't think they're going to go, I don't think they're going to lose every game. But if Deshaun can't play no better than that, this is going to be a long season for a defense that's loaded with talent that's not really going to be able to benefit from those guys because of the playoff one Deshaun Watson.
Yep. In the Monday Night Football game, currently at halftime, 16-7 is the score. San Francisco over the New York Jets at this time in Santa Clara. Out there, Aaron Rodgers, 64 yards passing into his return so far. Breece Hall, a touchdown, 10 carries of 25 yards. I had a touchdown so far. Garrett Wilson has 4 catches for 46 yards. Brock Purdy, 106 yards passing, 9-16. But the real story is Christian McCaffrey not playing in this game. Strained calf / Achilles is not fully healed as of yet. And so he is not. He was a late scratch, very late. I'm talking 7 o'clock Eastern time, very late before this game kicked off. Jordan Mason is carrying the rock tonight. 11 carries for 74 yards for the Niners, but 16-7 at halftime so far. The Niners up by 9. Your thoughts on the rest of this game, and regardless of the result, this McCaffrey news is absolutely huge for the 49ers. If he cannot return anytime soon, or he's not going to be 100% when he returns.
Yeah, strained calf and Achilles for a guy to use. I mean, that's about, he gets his usage rate in the National Football League got to be the highest of any running back, probably any player when you look at what he does when he is out there, running the football and catching the football. But what does it really say to you? Talk about the New York Football Jets is we could beat y'all without Christian. We could beat y'all without him. 64 yards passing right now for Aaron Rodgers, right? I think the thing about Aaron Rodgers is great player, but I don't think those years are in front of him. Those years are behind him. And people was like, these Jets fans, like, man, now is the year what? The last time the Jets were good, then Mark Sanchez was your quarterback. He went to back-to-back AFC Championship games. Mark Sanchez. I like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is doing the same thing Brett Favre did. When Brett Favre left Green Bay, where'd he go? He went to the Jets, didn't he? That's where he went, right? All I'm saying is this. The Jets got one of the best defenses in football. You know who might be better on defense? San Francisco. Brock Purdy probably grew up an Aaron Rodgers fan. Guess what? He's out playing it right now. And right now, in his young career, Brock Purdy has a better career right now in his young career than Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, as great as he is, has been to 1 Super Bowl. Now, he got a bunch of regular season MVPs. Incredible player. First ballot Hall of Fame. We're not taking that away from him. Yes. But I think the perception versus the reality of Aaron Rodgers, it just ain't hitting. Perception is, he gonna take it to a Super Bowl. The reality is the Jets going to the Super Bowl. Come on, man. Let's stop kidding ourselves. San Francisco gonna go ahead and get this dub. Kyle Shanahan gonna look at Coach Seeley and say, "Listen, man, nothing against y'all, but we thinking about teams like Kansas City, Baltimore, Detroit, Philly. The Jets, y'all are the Mets of New York. You are. What do you want me to say? I'm keeping it above. It's the Yankees. It's the Yankees and the Knicks. Then you got Brooklyn, the Nets, and the Mets. Well, when you think about the Jets, and mind you, the Giants ain't no good right now either. I'm just saying the whole all the New York teams right now, football is bad. But the Jets, come on, man. If Aaron Rodgers is going to take y'all out of the dark ages, I said, man, please. Hey, man, it's going to be a long season for them Jets, too. They'll find a way to get some dubs, but they won't do it against good teams. I could be proven wrong. I like being proven wrong. Do not take what I say to the bank. But 64 yards against a defense that don't give up much. Fred Warner and company, a lot of bad men in that defense, man, a lot of them.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to hear it in the comment section of this podcast if they do come back to win tonight. And so, yes, if that does happen, yes, Ben will own it for sure. Let's get into the transactions now, overreact before we get out of here. I'm just going to give you these rapid fire, and you can just kind of react to them and we'll preview a few we'll pick a few games from week 2. I'll do that at the very end. That's kind of like a very rapid, quick hit. Yeah. Tyreek Hill arrested before the game, as we mentioned earlier. Now video footage shows he was pulled from the car to the pavement. A lot of situations going on there. McCaffrey, as we mentioned, surprise inactive versus the Jets tonight. And then a lawsuit came out today accusing Deshaun Watson of assault back in 2020.
Oh man, well the whole thing, I'm gonna go from 3 to 1. I mean the Deshaun Watson situation, man. I'm praying for the victim. I mean, obviously with his checkered past, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I will see what happens, but I will say I will not shame the victim. And no matter what happens in this situation, we need to take her accusation serious. Do not look at the fact that who he is and what he represents. Make sure you give same respect to the victim as you will to the person being accused. As far as like a Christian McCaffrey, that's going to be rough because coming off a strained Achilles and a hamstring, it's going to be hard for him because once he gets back in his workload, are they going to ease him back in? So I think they're going to take a slow but steady approach with him, Ryan, because that's the thing about having a good team. You don't got to rush your star player back. And the thing about the Tyreek Hill situation, 2 things. I'm very, very surprised that people are surprised that these type of things happen in the world. They do, right? They happen. I'm not trying to make this, a black-white thing. I'm not trying to make this a racial thing. But let me tell you what Tyreek Hill did do. I'm very, very proud of Tyreek Hill. He did not use his status. He ain't say, I'm Tyreek Hill. He didn't do you know who I am? They kept saying, let the window down. He said, why are you knocking on my window? They put him on the ground. And he said, hey man, I had surgery on his knee. Can I just sit down? Now, if you are a cop, you are in authority. He ain't trying to flex his muscle. He's saying, look, I'm trying to go to the game. Shout out to Calais Cameron and whoever, I think it was whoever his other teammate was, getting out the car for a concerned teammate. I think that needs to happen more. I'm not trying to make more of it than it was. It was awful. It was hard to watch. I'm not trying to make this, like I said, a racial issue. It just was, I'm just saying, man. I mean, the man trying to get to work, and he did not throw his celebrity around. He was trying to comply, and he even said the right things in the post-game press conference. So shout out to Tyreek Hill for keeping it professional while he was getting violated, as well as post-game press conference, because during the game, I mean, he still did his thing.
Mentioned this a little earlier, 3 transactions on injury front. Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua heading to IR with a knee injury, out for at least for the next few weeks with a strained PCL. Bears Aroma Dunze is a week-to-week with an MCL sprain. And then Jordan Love, same thing, not being put on IR, but he is also week-to-week with an MCL sprain. Malik Willis starting at quarterback for the Packers, as you mentioned, this upcoming week game against the Titans.
Malik Willis, listen, have you a day, sir. Let me tell you something. Sometimes sweet revenge is one of those things that, what they say, revenge is a dish best served cold. Go out there and have you a day. Go look Will Levis in the face. Go look them Titans in the face. Say, y'all ain't want me. How you like me now? I'm over here with the Packers. Roma Dunze, listen, I get well, man. I mean, first round rookie out of Washington. I know he had a kind of like a rough, preseason, but I hope he does get back well. I know you mentioned Jordan Love. Look, that was hard to watch, and I'm happy that it wasn't worse than what we saw. Once again, we talked about those conditions. That was listen, man. Jalen Carter, when they hit him, I don't know, it was him and Jordan Davis. That was ugly scene, and then it was even ugly when he was slamming his hand on the ground like in pain. So I'm just happy that he's all right. Who was the other transaction you gave me? David and Njoku?
No, yeah, you can talk about him. He's also week to week with a sprain, high ankle sprain, but Puka Nacua PCL.
Oh yeah, Puka, yeah. Listen, take your time, man, because he means a lot to that. Him and Cooper Kupp, when they get out there together, that's gonna be pick your poison. When you talk about the 2 guys out there on the field, but all these guys is dealing with injuries, man. Take your time, man. I mean, football is 17 weeks now, really 18 if you count The off week. Take your time, man. It's a long season, and the injury bugs is going. We all gonna have to deal with them. How you respond to them will decide what type of career you have.
And then finally, we'll finish it with a couple transactions that happened this evening. Signing-wise, Brown signed former Chiefs receiver and Florida wideout Kadarius Toney. And then Giants signed former Chiefs and Panthers receiver Amir Smith-Marset as well.
Hey, man, shout out to Kadarius Toney, man, landing on his feet. I know every 1-2 Super Bowls with the Kansas City Chiefs didn't originally drafted by the Giants. They trade him over there to Kansas City, tried to resurrect his career. Didn't happen, but now he's over there. But then now you go from Kansas City, Cleveland. Hopefully him, Deshaun can have a nice combination going. And who's the other receiver you said just got signed?
Amir Smith-Marset, former of the Panthers and also the Kansas City Chiefs. Mm-hmm.
I mean, shout out to both of these young men, finally land on their feet. The thing about being a free agent in the National Football League, stay ready because somebody will call you. And as you can see, Ryan Tannehill, nothing against Ryan Tannehill, got a call because they need help at the quarterback position. If Ryan Tannehill got called, they need help bad. So, hey, man, but Malik Willis, once again, sir, enjoy yourself on Sunday. Revenge is a dish served cold. So go out there and be cold, man. Go back to your Liberty days, man, and just, do your thing. And Will Levis, do I got to say it? Stop throwing the ball to the other team, man. I'm over.
So we won't preview week 2, but I'll just give you a few games that stick out in my mind for this upcoming week. And so if you can leave your comments or react with us, and we can talk about some of the matchups on the next as we continue to go along in this NFL season. We mentioned already the Bills Dolphins is going to be Thursday Night Football. Saints Cowboys is playing in Dallas this week coming up. The Saints continued their hot streak in the Big D. Bucks Lions rematch of the divisional round playoff game is this week coming up. Bengals Chiefs in Kansas City, 4:25 game in week 2. Will Joe Burrow get to 1-1, or will they fall to 0-2 once again, as they normally have done the last few years? Texans Bears on Sunday Night Football. Ooh. Caleb Williams versus C.J. Stroud. Both teams trying to get to 2-0. And then Monday Night Football this coming week is the Falcons in Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Just some of the notable games coming up. There's obviously a lot more. But anyway, thoughts on any of those games that I mentioned for week 2 as we get ready to sign off here?
Hey, man, the Bucks in Detroit. Let's do it. I mean, I like playoff teams from the previous year, get it in. I want to see Caleb versus C.J. Stroud. I want to see that. I like to see the future of the NFL get to go head to head with each other. Former number 2 overall pick versus the current number 1 overall pick. Former offensive rookie of the year, going up against what most will say going to end up being an offensive rookie of the year, and Caleb Williams. I hope all my Falcons fans went to church after the game on Sunday, because you got the Eagles this week. That's going to be a long game with that defense and that offense. We will see what happens. But hey, man, Joe Burrow. Last time I checked, out of Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Lamar, Joe Burrow the only one can say I done beat Patrick Mahomes before. We'll see if they get back to their winning ways. I'm looking forward to them Cincinnati Bengals versus them Kansas City Chiefs. So, and the home of the Chiefs. If you've been to that state.
Well, this has been episode 3 of Winning the Division. Ben, before we wrap and sign off here, anything that you wanted to bring to the podcast for this 3rd episode that I may have missed, or anything you wanted to kind of bring to light here before we officially sign off from week 1 of the NFL season?
The opening day in the National Football League is the best day in sports. Because, I mean, that's when everybody's like, stretching out saying, hey, I think our team got a shot. Now, the reality hits in, once the ball gets kicked out. But it is the greatest day in sports. I mean, football being the most loved sport in America. And I'm just happy that the NFL is officially back. Started with Thursday, then to my Friday, then Sunday, hopefully again. I know it's ending. Week 1 will be officially done, with this Monday Night Football game with New York Football Jets and the San Francisco 49ers. But if you are a fan of the National Football League, enjoy the fact that we made it through the offseason. NFL is back, baby. Let's do it.
All right. Well, winning the division, we are Ryan Smith and Ben Troupe. You can find us at a few different places. So let's start with the Keep Pounding Podcast Network. You can find it on Twitter at KP_Pounding_FSSN. You can also find this podcast on the Fans First Network at Fans First SN, where that is powered by Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube page at Tobacco Radio, on Twitter, on X, youtube.com/Tobacco Radio for that website. Also, if you're in the Triad area of North Carolina, Forsyth and Guilford County, you can find us on the radio there as well. And Ben and myself on our social pages will post these episodes as well. I'll be giving you some preview clips, some shorts for some of these more notable conversations. That way, if you don't want to watch the full episode, you can get some short clips as well. But yeah, continue to join with us. Continue to leave your comments. What do you guys want to know about transactions, overreactions, everything in between? We want to see them. We want to hear from you. We want to make sure you rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast, whether that's via the YouTube, whether that is audio version on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. But yeah, keep rocking with us. Keep trying us out. We are winning the division, Ryan Smith and Ben Troupe, because remember, you're either winning the division or you're just in the division.
Straight like that.
All right. Well, thanks again, and we will talk to you guys later.